And I'm jealous that you listen to Taco Tuesday. All right, we're live. We've got 0 people on right now, but people will start to pop in. I think I all but lost my voice at dinner last night.
Well, it's because it was a fun dinner.
It was. I'm going to pull this up and let my own team know.
No, I need a picture of this so I can put it on Queen of the Bundle.
We certainly can do that. All right, I'll let them know. Let's see. It's maybe a little confusing for some people getting on because there we go. We've got 2 people on. I posted an event and then I did this separately because I wanted to do it to the YouTube channel as well.
Sure.
But as you guys pop in here, and certainly you're popping in here now, go ahead and let me know in the comments so you can hear everything. I was just telling Galen, great at training agents, great at networking, but I can never figure out technology as young as I still am. So, and it looks like we do have some people. If you're on Facebook, if you're interacting on Facebook, see, Rachel got it. If you're interacting on Facebook, there's a button that you press to authorize us to be able to see your name. So we're going to do a little training on bundling this open enrollment specific to under 65, and whoever just said love my Galen, if you authorize it to let us see your name, we'll be able to see who loves Galen. That way we can see who loves
I don't even
Galen.
know who loves Galen.
Eric, if you want to let them know, Eric's on here. He's the tech guy. He knows how to let them know how to make it so where it says Facebook user instead of their name. So
I need more. There we are.
there we go.
Maybe Eric was testing us.
Yeah. So I just got to sit down. You were training another agency, and man, I'm all right. Looks like we're back. Let us know in the comments if we're back. We popped off there for a minute. Okay, it says pause now, but we should be good. Let us know. The Wi-Fi was a little bit unstable. My apologies. Eric, can you let me know in the comments so you can hear? We'll get rolling here in just a minute. All right, beautiful. We're back. Thank you.
Good morning, America.
So I was introducing Galen. Obviously, you guys know her as Queen of the Bundle, but there's a real reason behind that, and I wanted to share some of that. But before I do, I just have to say, Scotty's here.
Scotty's here. Scotty.
Did you pay him to be here? Does he have to be here?
No.
Scotty's here because he loves us as well, and he's my ginger brother. But Galen is not just nicknamed Queen of the Bundle because she knows how to bundle herself and sell herself, right? Because that is one thing. I can bundle and sell, but to train others how to do it is really the difficult thing. And I heard you drop a statistic. You don't have to name the agency, but I heard you drop a statistic, what you took that agency from and to, right? It's a large agency as far as their bundled selling.
Well, so last year, like many of you, when COVID hit, I was like, okay, what the heck am I going to do? I'm not going to be able to see people. I told some people yesterday, I can give up alcohol and food. I can't give up people. But this agency had been on a leaderboard for a long time, and in the last couple of years was not on the Aetna leaderboard. And I was like, I want to call them up and I want to see if we can help these guys. And we literally took them from not even being on the leaderboard during COVID, of all things, to number 3 in the nation. And I really think they're closing in on number 2. And it's simply because they just were like me. They were like, well, what do I have to lose? I'm going to try what she's saying. And y'all, they're attaching a third. I
Yeah.
mean, that's the cool thing. There's call centers out there attaching 42%. And it's amazing to me when face-to-face agents go, they're stealing my business. And I'm like, no, what they're doing is their job.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
need to do your job. And we, as an industry, having done this 36 years, I don't even want to know how I was doing. But having done this, Scotty, is on the call of all things. I've been doing this longer than he is on.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, agents in the insurance industry were trained to be lazy. They were trained to work 2 days a week, golf 3 days a week.
Hey, now I can relate.
And a lot of
I don't
them
do it.
were traveling. They would leave on Monday, they would come home on Wednesday, and they were like, "Hey, I've worked, I've traveled." And I can tell you travel's taxing, but the problem is that there's so much more opportunity.
Yeah.
And when you bundle, you're more efficient. What I started doing with our call center is I started watching all these call centers on their cost per acquisition, and I still crack, Robert Bishop, because I'll say, I don't really care about CPA. I care about, what am I making? Because when an agent's on the phone and they can get 4 apps,
Yeah.
that's a known deal. You don't know what the next lead or the next person is going to tell you.
Absolutely.
But while you've got that client, you need to make hay while the sun is shining, as
Yeah.
we say in Texas. Y'all say
Absolutely.
that here too?
I mean, the sun's always shining because we're in Florida, but yeah.
Y'all should grow hay then.
Yeah.
But, at the end of the day, I do think that it's about your time and making it valuable. And what I did, and some people call this conceit, arrogance, but I wanted to be an attorney, and then I saw how much school was involved, and I really went to school for the social hour. I know that's a shocker for most of you to realize, but I literally was like, I can make more money than an attorney in the insurance business. I can make more money than a doctor.
For real.
And one of the things Brad heard me say today to this agency is don't forget, you're more important to your clients than their doctors. Because without you, there is no doctor. They don't work for free. We're not in the world where there's doctors without borders or whatever they call that. I mean, you have to pay. And the number one cause of bankruptcy, still to this day, it's been this way since I got in the business, is medical bills.
Yep.
And it's because these people don't realize they can just make a payment of anything and keep it off their credit, but instead they run and they don't pay it.
Yeah.
But that's, again, I told this group, confusion and chaos is what creates opportunity. And the more we've got people out there on TV, the more we've got people out there, the government, telling them they can buy health insurance when the house burns down.
Yeah.
That's just not, most people don't get diagnosed on December 31st and go, woo, I can buy open enrollment. You've got to really have health insurance.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, because the training that you were just doing was geared towards Medicare and under 65. We are only going to talk under 65 here because that's what I love and know. And
it's my wheelhouse.
when you get into the Medicare stuff and you start talking about Plan N and G and C and B and D, you lose me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I do it, but I'm not. It's not my main bread and butter. So, want to talk about that. You mentioned the ACA, and obviously, everybody has mixed feelings about it, right? There's good and there's bad. They're just like anything else, Medicare Advantage versus Medicare Supplement. Would you say, like, I know obviously selling a lot of short-term medical and fixed benefit plans, we bundle the crap out of those plans. Of course,
Obamacare
right?
alternatives, baby.
But would you say it's still important to bundle if you're selling ACA? I know there's a lot of people out there selling ACA that are probably not bundling. Is it still important, and why is it still important to bundle with ACA?
This is where being in the Medicare industry opened my eyes. People buy MedSup because they want to go to any doctor, any hospital.
Yeah.
A lot of clients are on Med Advantage, but I always say, cheap is cheap and free is not free. And so even when you get a big subsidy on an ACA plan, a lot of times the bigger the subsidy, the skinnier the network. And I'll say that again, y'all need to write that down. The bigger the subsidy, the skinnier the network. And I had a cancer scare. Now it's been 6 years ago, and I had an ACA plan. And immediately I was like, I'm going to MD Anderson because my dad had
Right.
gone through cancer.
Right.
And I look up, MD Anderson's not on my network.
Okay.
And it freaked me out. But I knew I had $90,000 of cancer. So I was like, okay, well, I can at least negotiate until I can get on a better ACA plan. So I think what Medicare does, even though it's confusing to some, to me, it opens my eyes to the bundle. It's like if I'm going to give somebody an ACA plan, which if it's free, why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Enroll them, but also put them on either a short-term medical or as you know, I designed the affordable choice plan with Manhattan Life, and
Great plan to
they
bundle with.
supported me. We fought the government. We won a lawsuit, a very important lawsuit for anybody in the under age 65 business. But what happens is that they can use any doctor, any hospital. So if they have a plan, like my situation, and they wanted to go to MD Anderson, and you put them in that Obamacare alternative,
Wow.
they have coverage. And the other thing y'all need to remember, and I've seen this since 2010 when ACA came around, history is our teacher. And we need to remember a lot of our farmers, our ranchers, our small business owners, which is our customer primarily, they were told to go to Medicaid. And then we had agents doing something they shouldn't do. And I know a lot of you are being instructed this way, and run. Don't create an income for these farmers and ranchers to get them a subsidy. They need to do their own taxes. You need to stay out of that. But we see a lot of farmers and ranchers now not writing off near as much as what they used to so they can qualify for a subsidy. What I learned about farmers and ranchers, they didn't want to be told to go to Medicaid.
Wow.
And then now they're getting subsidized health care, which is great. They deserve it. They provide all of our food. I'm big farmer and rancher advocates and small business owners because that's what we all are. And I'm Texas, yes.
Yeah.
But what I learned is they do have money. They do want to buy the Obamacare alternative. And if next year, because y'all got to remember, ACA plans are 12-month plans. They expire at the end of the 12 months. Sometimes people can renew it, but it's really not renewing it. It's a new 12-month term. But if in that next 12 months they don't get approved for a subsidy, you still put them on a guaranteed renewable plan that they get to use any doctor, any hospital, and they're cheap, they're affordable, hence the name Affordable Choice.
Yeah.
That's why I created that name. I think it makes sense. And, you're branding yourself. So what better branding to have for an underage 65 agent to say, I have the Affordable Choice for you. That's how you get to open your door. Some of you may not sell Manhattan. Some of you may sell a competitor, and I get it. I don't understand it. I get it. But there's always ways to bundle with that.
Well, here's one thing that I love about Galen is she's going to give you the direct answer, the no BS answer, regardless of, what that feels like or what that is. In 36 years of experience, obviously that carries a lot of weight. So when you talk about the history and that we have to be mindful that it's definitely the best teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I see this huge opportunity with ACA, right? I see it just like everybody else does, and when I say opportunity, I mean, I see that a lot more people qualify, and I see that, but then I also know the downsides. And so what are, let's just talk about just ACA for a moment, right? Because I think that is, if somebody's not bundling and they're selling under 65 health insurance, I think that's the main plan that they're not bundling with, because it's too easy to just sell a zero. You're not really selling it, you're enrolling it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's zero premium plan. They're just
you're not a salesperson.
And you have this, I'm not going to say specifically, but a lot of people I talk to have this kind of belief that because it's a major medical plan, the supplemental coverage isn't, and I mean, hey, at the end of the day, 8,000 is better than 800,000. So you could always justify,
Mm-hmm.
well, they don't need to bundle their coverage because the worst case, they're going to pay their 8,000, but they have major medical. There's really no real loopholes. There's no, blah, blah, blah. So what are some strategies or some actual, and by the way, guys, if you're liking this, let us know in the comments. If it's valuable to you, let us know in the comments. The reason we do that is so more people see it, obviously. But what are some actual strategies that agents can deploy to overcome that objection of we don't necessarily need that extra coverage, or the $8,000 deductible isn't a huge concern for us, or those types of things.
So always sell like you buy. That's the best advice I can give anybody, because we don't want to be duped as consumers. But what a lot of people fail to realize is that oncology clinics do not have charitable funds. So when your client gets diagnosed with cancer, they don't get to walk in and say, well, I don't have $8,000. What now? They're going to say, okay, who's going to pay this for you? And you need to use that in your selling. When they tell you they can't afford something, what I love to do is overcome the objection before it happens. But I realize a lot of you are new and you don't know how to overcome those objections in your presentations.
So they're going to come up. Yeah.
But if you overcome them in your presentation, you'll find out your presentations become shorter. You have fewer questions.
Yeah.
You become more efficient. But I love to always start with clients and say, hey, we're going to do a pop review.
Yeah, she mentioned that. Actually, it's in my notes. When she was training, she mentioned that. It's in my notes, and I was going to ask.
And that's new.
Yeah.
I just came up with that last week. But it's because I've been talking packages of protection now for about a year, and I was like, oh, that's the acronym, POP.
Yeah.
So when you go, we're going to do a POP review, and you like saying things that clients do not hear from the all-time annoying telemarketers. So when you say something that they're not used to, they're going to listen to you. That's tele experience number one. You have 3 seconds to give these clients something that's going to excite them. And when you work your current book of business, they already trust you. So that's the easiest lead you'll ever have. And it's great to call those clients back. It's a great referral service. But when you actually say, hey, we're doing selfies now. But when you say we want to do a POP review, okay, what's a POP? Well, I want to build you the best package of protection I can. And I've got to inform you of some things. What customers make mistakes on are the simplest of things, Mrs. Jones. But it's because I find out that agents don't want to take the time and explain it. They want to get their $50 from Health Sherpa and move on down the road. Well, I'm not in this business for a $50 Health Sherpa payment.
Yeah.
I'm in this business to make an income. You don't have to pay me. The carriers pay me. But what I've realized is the better job I do for my clients, they refer me. They call me back at the end of the year. They want to know my advice because they had a good year with me.
Yeah.
So if you do it that way up front, then your client already knows that you're going to take care of them. So when you're doing a package of protection call, you can always say, so who is your health insurance with? What are you paying for that? You don't want to ask, do you have health insurance? That's yes or no, click. Okay. Yes, if you're face to face, I get it's harder to kick you out the door, but they're just going to cancel on you because you annoyed the crap out of them. You didn't leave when they wanted you to leave.
Right.
So I guess that's the transparency you were talking about. So occasionally that comes out of my mouth. But what I would say is, look, this is going to take a little while because I don't want you to have to do this every year. What I want to do is put you in some plans that I know you're not going to have rate increases on, so that when you do turn 65, which, by the way, if you're taking notes, if you are not in the under age 65 business, you are creating a bad mistake. Now, we like that because you're not our competition, but as a good service, you should be in it.
Agreed.
Because you're building leads. You're building leads for that T65 market, and if you've done a good job, they're not going to call anybody else. They're going to call you. And we can help do a training for those of you that want to know the Med Sup as well. If you're just under age 65, or if you're watching this in your Med Sup and you're like, hey, I want to get in under age 65, contact Brad, contact me. We'll be happy to train you in that. But when you're going through that package of protection, it's like, who do you have? What do you pay? The reason you want to know those things is you want to know where these clients are going to be vulnerable to using their savings accounts. If you've not Googled under age 40, how many people have 6 months of income in the bank? Do it. It changes every day, and the statistic goes lower and lower and lower because we have more people living off unemployment right now than we've ever had in our history. So what I would do is say, literally, what I'm trying to do is prepare you for the worst at the best possible package price. And everybody wants a package because they automatically in their brain thinks a discount comes with that. But
Thanks
when
to
you,
flow, right?
yeah, and when you actually talk to your PNC guy and you find out what discount you've got, sometimes it's 1%. But we've bought into that mentality as a society. So we need to use that to our advantage to get the client to listen to us. But what we're going to do to their advantage is we're going to put them in the best possible rate. I used to write for a company that had a cancer plan that was 50% higher than the cancer plan I was selling for. And they said, "Why don't you sell our cancer plan? We love you." And I go, "Because 10,000 is 10,000. If I sell it with a company that's cheaper and they're reliable, then that allows me to come back in and sell y'all's dental." So guess what? They create plans that now look like the other cancer plans because that's what the secret of the bundle sell is. I'm going to show you on the rate sheet, Mrs. Jones, how I'm going to save you money. And I'm going to show you all my secrets. But I'm going to shop for you. That's why you want to be a broker. There's a captive career company out there right now that doesn't allow their agents to write ACA business. And they created this referral partner thing.
Someone's preaching.
Yeah, and you've got to remember you're in the business of referrals. So why would you want to partner with anybody? That is the craziest thing I've ever heard of. Brad and I had this conversation a couple of years ago. And I'm like, dude, you and I are benefiting from this referral partnership from these people. But if we really want to do our job, we should recruit those people and let them be their own referral partner. And that's truly
very true.
What I believe. And believe me, I get hate mail on that all the time, but that's okay. I don't care. I didn't grow up in this world to be popular. I grew up in this world to be profitable. And that's what you've got to do when you're in the insurance business is do right by your customers and they'll do right by you.
Well, that's awesome. And one thing that comes to mind also when she's telling that story about your client, staying with you forever, it was, I remember like probably a year and a half, 2 years ago, I got a phone call from one of my clients who'd been with me for a long time. And I made the mistake. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I think there's probably a lot of people that do this, right? We are lazy. Insurance agents are lazy, whether you feel like you're hardworking or not. There's times where you're probably a little lazy. I was lazy.
Our trainers were lazy.
Right. And so he called me year after year to renew the coverage. And every time I did everything I could to keep the rate the same. Well, as you know, as you're aging, your rate is not going to stay the same. So eventually we didn't remove his cancer coverage altogether, but we did remove the standalone cancer plan that he had and had a kind of a smaller, more basic benefit. And he called me and I was getting back from a trip. I landed in the airport, checked my voicemails, and I got a message that no one ever likes to get. And that voicemail let me know what was going on. And I called him immediately. When I got home, it's hard to kind of even tell the story. When I got home, I actually threw my laptop open and pulled up my computer, looked, and I sold him a $10,000 cancer plan, and I took away the $50,000 cancer plan that he had previous. Okay. The reason why I tell that story is because, one, I know people are making that mistake. I do it still, right? Like your client is pissed that the rate went up $50 a month. And so you say, well, we could get rid of this or we could get rid of that, right? We could make it stay the same. It's just not logical. It doesn't work. But also the lesson there is that I lost that client. You would think that he had all these cancer claims. His wife was actually pretty well taken care of. They didn't really have to pay their deductible because they did have $10,000 worth of cancer coverage. So it wasn't a horrible situation. But a year later, that client left me. And
hindsight's 2020.
I was blown up. Not just left me, but left me for like a sharing type of plan. So and I'm still a little sour about that one. And I still reach out to him all the time because I want that one back. But that's the importance of bundle selling and keeping your clients.
Happens all the time. And like I said, hindsight's 2020. The reason you want to talk package of protection is it leads to the place where you can say, look, when you do have to let go of something, because hard times hit, call me. I want to advise you on what needs to go first. And it's different with an under age 65 person versus a senior. But in this particular case, in this situation, this is how, first of all, I think it's great Brad tells on himself because you can't teach what you don't know. And I think that's one of the things that upsets me the most with some of these Facebook groups, is we have a lot of teachers that haven't been through the learning processes.
Yeah.
Okay. I've made mistakes like this, and I can tell you it forever is in your heart. So the first lesson there is don't ever sell cancer riders. I'll say it again. Don't ever sell cancer riders, because when a client cancels a hospital indemnity plan in the senior market, especially, and the agent put a cancer rider on there just to have a shortcut because he didn't want to write another application. My gosh, y'all, everything's EFT. I mean, all you have to do is put in a security word. It's not that much work. But when they cancel that plan, they've lost their cancer coverage. Then you get the call because they don't understand that that went away, and they're giving you a Brad moment. Hey, I need to file on my cancer plan. And you're like, uh-oh, or Scooby-Doo, rut-row. That's not a good feeling. And so what I tell clients all the time is I can tell you right now, whether it's a low interest rate environment or a high interest rate environment and you got tons of money, you never know how long it's going to stay in the bank.
Yeah.
But insurance companies have stood the test of time. They pulled the banks out of the Great Depression. I taught that at Medicare Con last year, or this year still. COVID's got me screwed up. But I will tell you that when I know I'm an insurance agent and my job is to insure, what I'm basically doing is assuring. I am assuring peace of mind by insuring you against things that you don't even think can happen to your family. When you serve at the Ronald McDonald House in your local communities, Mylanta, when you are around people and you see what some of their kiddos are going through, and they literally go, Galen, what do you do for a living? I design cancer plans. Why isn't the government telling us about those? It's not the government's job, y'all. It's our job. And that's the problem. The government has tried to do our job and they're failing at it.
Yeah.
Which is creating a great opportunity for you. But cancer is always the first plan in any bundle because 87% of people over age 50 are diagnosed with cancer. The majority of our client base now in the under age 65 is 50. My average age client used to be 42. The reason it's 50 now is because so many of those clients are getting qualified for subsidies under age 40. When they're hitting 50 to 64, they should have most of their stuff together. They're not qualifying, a lot of them, for a subsidy. And they don't see the benefit of paying a mortgage monthly plus an 8150 out of pocket when they haven't been to the hospital since their last kiddo was born 30 something years ago.
Yeah.
So they will buy an Obamacare alternative, or they'll have nothing. And a cancer plan is definitely something you can sell.
Yeah.
One of the things that I'll just tell you guys, and this is where disappointment happens for agents when they think leads are sales, and we've all thought it. The minute you say a lead is not interested, you have insulted the daylights out of yourself. Because basically what you've told your leader, your team, is that you're not interesting. You have so much to sell. And everybody needs a cancer plan. 1 out of 1 still die. Life insurance is the best plan you've got. Dental, vision, and hearing. I always say if they don't have all 3 of those, they at least got 2 out of 3. I'll quote Meatloaf, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. And when we think for our customers, that's another mistake you make. And that's why you're not bundling. You'll think, I'm not going to spend that for a dental. My lands, y'all are paid renewals. Most of the public out there, they lose 4 months of income. It's devastating. Devastating. You're in a business where you're making next month's income. So don't curb sell your client. That's a huge mistake. They all need dental vision and hearing and they want it.
I heard
That's
that term for the first time,
oh
by the
my
way.
gosh.
When she was doing the training a minute ago was the first time I heard the term curb sell. So can you actually can you talk about that for a second and what that is? Because that was new to me, and I wrote it down in my notes.
We have got to get you to listen to Zig Ziglar more. I'm thinking I should read all of Zig's old trainings and put them on Facebook Live because I probably sound as much like him as he did.
They'd be like brand new material for most
It would.
people. No, I've
don't
definitely.
steal that idea. I'm saying it on TV that it's my way. Not TV. I always
This
get
isn't
corrected.
TV. We're not yet on
This young
TV.
group,
Almost. We're almost on TV. Haven't quite made it there yet. Keep commenting. Let us know you like it.
Yes,
Maybe we'll get.
That's
on
what
TV.
I get commented on all the time. But Facebook Live, curb selling. So it's an old real estate term, but it's really been used with the face-to-face salespeople. Zig a lot because he sold pots and pans door to door, and so he'd walk up to a house and he'd be like, "Oh, these people aren't going to be able to afford it because their house doesn't look good." But I was with a life insurance agent that got a $10,000 cash amount of money. And the guy got it in Kentucky out of a tree that was actually in their house with dirt floors. So I've learned you don't curb sell. And we do that. We do that all the time. We get on a phone with somebody and we're like, oh gosh, they don't even get it. They're not interested. Click. And I hate when I'm in a call center and somebody says, okay, have a nice day. I knew the client won the moment I heard, okay, have a nice day. What I would have said was, okay, I'm calling you back in 5 or 10 minutes because you don't want to be bankrupt because you don't have health insurance. So is 2 or 4 better for you? One of the things face-to-face agents need to get away from is the crutch of seeing a person's facial expressions and body language. When I train agents, I have them go back to back. Yeah. Some of y'all have seen that out there on Medicare Monsters, Gurus. And I told Justin the reason I do that is because I don't want a new trainee seeing those facial expressions because it screws you up as an agent. Because that client may have a tick and you're thinking, oh God, he doesn't like me. Yeah. When really that may just be a disability. Or they may just not smile. They may not just be happy people. Yeah. So you cannot rely on that. You need to be able to just stick to the basics. Curb selling is also dangerous when you do it based on your own opinion. Your client does not have your income. You do not know what that client's bank account is unless you're really, really good and have sold annuities like I've had to do. You usually ask for their tax returns so you can say, hey, I need to kind of know what you made in order to advise what you need to do with your investments. Yeah. And it's all laid out there for you. But a lot of that experience is our teacher. So learn what to do always, but also learn what not to do. When you learn what not to do, that's when you become really good because you remember, hey, I was on that Facebook Live and I heard Brad say curb selling. What does that mean?
Galen said curb selling. That's your term.
Well, when you pull up, you just know you're going to go in. I've sold some insurance in some places that, first of all, my husband would have been like livid. I even walked in. But you know what? It's getting that experience. And I've had clients that I've made the appointment with on the phone and get to their house and say, hey, I'm here for our appointment. And they say, I didn't make an appointment with anybody. I'm like, well, I was that telemarketer you talked to. Yes, you did. We still need to talk. Yeah. You may have forgotten, but what I have to talk to you about is still valuable. Yeah. And you need what I have to offer. And, have that confidence because, I was that kid in school that had no confidence. And I get people all the time going, why do you tell people you've had no confidence? I think you were born with confidence. I wasn't. Yeah. When I was in high school, I didn't have any confidence. But, when you get told no 3 times, hey, it either leads to a yes or on to the next. Yeah. So get 3 no's.
That's awesome. So you obviously big on cancer, if you can't tell, right? That's a big thing.
Personal experiences do that too.
That's true, right? And if you haven't heard a story, it's everywhere. So you'll eventually hear a story, but the personal experience of going through that has made you passionate about the cancer plans, right? So that's a number one. I mean, a big takeaway for everybody on the call is certainly to, sell cancer to everybody. But if you had to kind of paint a perfect picture, and we'll for the purposes of the example, we'll, one with ACA, one without ACA, just so every base is covered in the under 65 individual world. If you had to build like a perfect plan, based on an ACA or a private option, what would that plan look like? What all would it consist of?
So let's talk with ACA first.
Okay.
With ACA first, the first thing you have to do as an agent is understand you've got to get a budget. Because if you start talking to a client and you don't know what they can afford, you've already wasted your time. So I usually ask, what is your health insurance budget? When they say zero, then know that they don't appreciate your time and you need to go for another no. Because if you keep trying to get this client when they already have told you they've got no budget, then you need to explain to them then they can't afford their zero premium plan. And they'll say, what do you mean? And everybody goes, Galen, we're not talking Med Advantage, we're talking ACA. No,
same thing.
It's still the same thing. And it's built the same way. That's what a lot of folks that are in the ACA business that got recruited in masses don't understand, because they don't understand what Med Advantage really is. And so I always like to take a step back and explain ACA and where it came from and why it's there and how it changes year to year. And you want your agent to understand that, because if they don't understand it, they can't sell it. So they're wasting their time, they're wasting your leads, which are your resources if you're the agency owner.
Right.
So what's your budget? Well, they'll say, well, I don't know, $150. Okay, I can work with that. Sure can. But it's all going to come down to your tax return. I can tell you that right now, Mrs. Jones. So if you're fibbing to me and you can afford more than $150, then you're going to be disappointed, and so am I, because we've wasted a lot of time. So the first thing I'm going to do is see if you qualify for an ACA plan. I want to get that right out of the way. And then we qualify the client. And if they qualify for an ACA and it's zero, why wouldn't you do it? You do it. Right. It's free. Do it. It's not free for us on this call because we're paying for those free programs, but it's free for them.
Right.
And it helps put money in our pockets. So we need to do the right thing.
Yeah, that's good, guys. That's huge.
Yes.
I am a huge proponent of that as well.
Right.
If they qualify for the free, why would you not?
Yeah. Then I go into one of the biggest problems I have with these types of plans is that I inevitably get a call from a client saying, hey, my doctor's not in the network. My hospital's not in the network. And doctors and hospitals will tell you they get fired every day. So they cannot always tell a client if they're, or their patient, if they're in a network or not. And we look them up all the time and they're there just to be gone tomorrow. Yeah. Okay. So don't fall on that sword. Use that to your ability to bundle and say one of the biggest problems we always have with these free plans is that, and in the ACA, you can use free, and Med Advantage, you can't use the word free, which again, something got missed there. But anyway, what I always say is in these free plans, free is not always free and cheap is always cheap. So what we want to do is build you in some value. And since you told me you've got $150, there's a couple of ways we can go. The first thing we can do is if you're okay with this network and you're going to be fine and not call me in 6 months and ring my phone off the phone and complain, because I don't make any money on these plans to spend that amount of time or provide those services. So I would have to refer you to the carrier and it's just going to end up bad. Okay. I'm telling you that up front. So if you're okay with the network and you're okay with the doctors, then the first thing I'm going to recommend to you, and a lot of this depends what age they are. If they're under age 50 and they're telling me 150 is all they can afford, it tells me they've got no savings. So the biggest disability to anybody is cancer. It's not accident, it's cancer. Because most time people get cancer, they can't work. They're sick from the chemo. And you'll get these few people that say, I worked every day, just like I had a friend that did. And when it came back, he couldn't even get out of bed. So I always go cancer first, and I'm going to double up on cancer because I want to make sure they're well taken care of. like I said, I have personal history with it. My dad was 52 when he got diagnosed. He didn't make it to his 53rd birthday. He was the breadwinner of our family, and he just wanted the death to come sooner because he had life insurance. So I always make sure that we've got cancer protection there. Then I look at heart attack and stroke coverage. I love Aetna's plan for that right now because we have a lot of mix and match variables that are great, and we get to use the youngest spouse's age and to add the kiddos. And by the way, guys, you never ask if they want the kids covered. You just add the kids. Because if they've got a family and one of their kids or that 1 out of 10 kids that's diagnosed with leukemia, they don't want to decide who's going to go to the chemo treatment or who's going to work. They want to get their $50,000 check and they both want to be at that treatment. And that helps that kiddo get better because attitude is what helps overcome cancer. We can't say cancer is curable, but we can say you can overcome it. And part of that is having that little kid not worry that he's not seeing his brother or sister or that his mom and dad are living in two different households. That's a very big deal that I see at the Ronald McDonald House. And it's $1 a day for the most part. And if it's not, it's $2 a day. And if they can afford $150, we go there. Do the math on your commissions, by the way. It pays you big to do the right thing for your client. Group agents are some of the laziest agents. Don't send me hate mail. You are. Y'all know it. And what happens is they're not bringing in the cancer because they're trying to compete with another group agent. And I have a very good friend that I've made through the Ronald McDonald House that got penalized because of a lazy agent. He was trying to get a school district's business and he didn't give them any added benefits. And his card said, certified benefits specialist.
Oh, no.
And didn't even bring up cancer. I mean, that's horrible. Absolutely horrible. But I always go there. And then heart attack and stroke in that under age 65 space, accident coverage is really important, especially when you're dealing with farmers, ranchers, auto mechanics, even hairdressers. They slip and fall all the time. You know, that's a great bundle. If you've only got $150 to work with, of course, life insurance, dental, vision, and hearing. I love the Manhattan Life Dental, Vision, and Hearing plan. It's my favorite. I'm partial to it.
And then you don't have to worry about covering just the 2 out of the 3. You got all 3 right there.
That's right. And you can use that pool of money any way you want.
Yeah.
And that's the advantage of the Manhattan Life. I'll tell you what I like about plans and what I don't. Everybody knows that about me. But I will say if you are going the other direction and the client says, hey, Galen, I've got $300, then I would do an ACA plan with an Affordable Choice Classic. And then I would upgrade that Classic the next year if they can't get the ACA plan. Mm-hmm. And I would put cancer. And I'd probably let them ride with that for a while because that's really good coverage. I wouldn't push too much more budget at that point because you've got them a really good plan.
Yeah.
Now, if they are the people that've got it together and like me, every ACA enrollment, I look at what a bronze would cost me in my income range and what a silver would cost me. Last year it was $1,267 and $1,567 for a silver. And
everything's bigger in Texas.
That's right. And it's expensive. And so we get a lot of clients. That's why there's more affordable choice sold in Texas than any other state. Illinois second. Shout out to the HST folks for that. But at the end of the day, what happens is those clients the next year go, oh my gosh, I don't qualify now for a subsidy, or I make too much money. And so I always sell a short-term medical. I start there because they've already ruled out ACA for me. And then I'll also sell an affordable choice with a short-term medical because that short-term medical, guys, is short-term. Even the 3-year renewable plans, the problem with those are they're going to have big rate increases. They are going to sometimes eliminate the customer from you because you didn't sell it right in the beginning. They're going to get that huge rate increase when they have a cost of living increase or inflation, and they changed ages. And now their little $167 a month short-term medical goes to $500. Well, that's not a bridge to Medicare. Right. That is a bridge to no profitability for you, the agent, because the client gets irritated because you didn't tell them. So if you tell them in advance that they could have this rate increase and they may not want to keep the short-term medical and you wrote them a hospital indemnity plan, you put the elite on them because they can afford it a lot of times. That's better than the health sharing ministry plans. I don't like plans that are not regulated and have, yes, some of the bureaucrats that fight for us, because I've had to beg for some Christian health sharing ministry plans to pay claims
Yeah.
before. Almost 9 months after their affordable choice claim was paid, I usually write short term medical, I advise affordable choice, then out of pocket protection, because you're layering in all these protections. And a lot of times the clients make money on these plans. They're able to pay off. And here's another thing I want y'all all to remember: when a client gives a hospital indemnity plan to their hospital administrator, that's cash. When that hospital administrator or that doctor says, no, it has to go on insurance because you told us you had insurance, no, the client's not committing fraud. The administrator is, or the doctor, coder, bill collector is, because they don't realize that those plans are hospital indemnity and they are cash. What's happening is they're gouging, they're price gouging you. So you need to tell your client that they're going to get that conversation, and the minute they get that conversation, to have that administrator call you.
That's extremely important, because that happens so
all the time.
often. So I have
it happened to me.
I have an email right now actually asking, and it doesn't work in this scenario, but asking if it's legal for the provider to not want to reverse the transaction and give them the cash rate. And unfortunately, in this situation, the provider's right, but why would the provider not be willing to do that in the beginning? You know what I mean?
It's so wrong on so many levels, and the fact that there's not regulation on that,
right.
That'll be my next fight, because I've gotten into so many fights with hospitals on myself. I had a hospital, I was getting a small procedure done. Hospital called me and says, great news, Galen, your insurance is going to cover it. And I go, okay, what am I going to pay? And they go, oh, just $1,564 or something like that. And I was like, well, I called and got the cash price at the beginning of the week, and it was $147. I want to do cash. And she goes, oh, well, you can't do that. You already presented your insurance. And I go, well, guess what? You're wrong. You are absolutely 100% wrong, because mine's an HSA plan. That's cash. I got to pay that up front. So you can just go ahead and take that out of your records, and I'll be down there with my $147. And guess what? When I got to the hospital, they tried to do it to me again, and I asked them to go get their legal compliance officer, that we were going to have a conversation about it. And guess what? They took my credit card, and it was $147, and life is as we know it.
Yeah.
And I have to instruct people on that all the time, because they're not trained that way, because that's how they keep their practices open. That's how they keep people coming in to see them. And a lot of people are giving you that answer because that's the way they were trained.
Yeah.
They don't know any better. But anytime you sell ancillary plans, they are filed on cash indemnity or hospital indemnity. And when you look at the first page of the policy, you see that they can negotiate cash all day. And that's why I tell clients, don't ever assign your cancer plans. Don't ever assign affordable choice either. Tell them, say, I want your cash price. And when I get that, I'm going to decide what I'm going to do. And they'll give you the cash price. Then you can go, okay, what I'm going to let you do, this is a cash indemnity policy. I want that cash price. That's what I want you to send to my carrier. And that's what they're going to pay you. And then they don't argue with you after that. But when you educate your clients on that, again, that's chaos and confusion, that you get to settle for them. And guess what? You're going to get so many referrals out of that. We had a girl that worked with us. Her husband had gout, and they were trying to price gouge them. And she called me and she goes, okay, what do I do? And I go, this is what you do. And she literally comes into the office and we made like $700 on that deal.
Well, this is so it took an interesting turn with this, and honestly, it's something that I'm always kind of preaching, as far as I sell less benefit on the doctor's visits and things like that. Like in fact, I sell the savings of not having. I took a call while Galen was training. Took a call with a couple that's aging into Medicare. They've got 3 months, or one of the spouses aging off 3 months from now. And so I sold them their plan was renewing, gave them a very basic, they have cancer coverage, they have all that stuff. But as far as their short-term medical, I took them off of a copay plan because it went way up, and I sold them a regular, 5K deductible, max out of pocket, no copays.
That's
And
old school, y'all.
she called me back just now, and she goes, "We want to, even though it's more, we want to pay for that copay plan." And I said, I totally understand that, but tell me why you think that, or tell me why you would like that, because if you want that, at the end of the day, I'll give that to you. And she said, "Well, my husband looked at it, and the out of pocket max on the new plan is higher." And I said, "Well, that's actually not correct. It's lower." Right? I said, "But you're going to pay more for your doctor's visits. However, that other plan is $300 more a month. And I don't want your business today as much as I want your business, 3 years from now. And you're aging into Medicare, your husband's going to age into Medicare. We'll be able to take care of you." So
that's an old myth.
it's
Sub
huge.
trick. Are you paying $3,600 a year for doctor visits? Because 300 a month times 12, $3,600. I always tell everybody, plan in and Medicare, for you guys that are watching this, plan in doesn't mean no, it means now. You take plan in now because it's no different than what your ACA was. As a matter of fact, it's better. It's the promised land of insurance. But you're not going to have all the rate increases because you're not paying for all the sick people.
Yeah.
So always, get yourself saying that stuff in your head. Plan in doesn't mean no, it means now. Because it'll make you do a better job because you're more convicted about it. Your brain is what's selling the deal.
100%. One of the most common objections that my agents will see, that any agents in this that are trying to go after that healthy and wealthy market with private alternatives, is going to be the lack of wellness coverage, or the lack of. And sure, you can put a $200 a month wellness plan in place if you need that crutch to sell on, right? And a lot of agents use that. But what we're talking about is how much more useful would that $200 be on a cancer plan that could someday pay that person $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 versus, oh wow, you got your $300 doctor's visit covered.
You just went from zero to hero in their eyes, because now you're building them a better package of protection. Almost anybody you talk to that has any kind of wealth, they've either followed Dave Ramsey or they follow Susie Orman. And what I always tell them is, like, they preach diversification. So if all you have is a high deductible health insurance plan, and only 1 out of 20 people, excluding maternity, go into the hospital, then what are you buying? You need to diversify those premium dollars into plans that you'll actually use. We see it with dental, vision, and hearing. So many people they want dental, vision, and hearing, but they opt not to take it because they're like, oh, I really want health insurance and I really want my doctor to be paid for. And I think that's so short-sighted, because just like you said, $300 more a month, shoot, you could go to the best doctor on the planet for $3,600 a year.
Yeah, exactly.
You could have plastic surgery done for $3,600 a year. I think one of the things that's interesting about that conversation is that's building the bundle. That's building the credibility for the bundle. It's building the package. And, I should have built princesses of packages, I guess. But, at the end of the day, I think when you look at what you're doing for your client is what you would do for yourself.
Yeah.
And so what I would encourage all of you to do when you're talking to your ACA clients is really get their budget. I've said that a couple of times. That's really, really important. That eliminates a lot of objections. The other objection you're going to get most often is, I've got to talk to Brad before I do this. Well, I always say, do you talk to Brad before you put gas in your car? Because my husband is furious with me if I come home and I'm on E.
Yeah.
And when you think about what a tank of gas costs, $75 for my car, well, your cancer plan's $45. Is he really going to be mad that you want to protect your family against the devastation of cancer? He's not. That's just you giving me that excuse because you're not comfortable making this decision, because like most people, you would rather spend that $45 on a new dress, or, I don't know, dinner.
That's a cheap dress, by the way. I don't know what women are getting $45 dresses.
Marshalls, well, they should put me on their commercials.
Yeah. My wife's dresses ain't $45, unfortunately.
I need to help Ashley. But anyway, so what I'll say to you all on this is that when they say, I need to talk to somebody, don't be afraid to say, well, do you have to ask him to put gas in your car? Or do you have to ask her to put gas in your car? You know, the answer is always no, I don't. And then your next move is, well, you're not the licensed professional. I am. I don't expect you to do my job. That's what the companies pay me to do. Let's get him or her on the phone.
Yeah.
And if they say, well, I need to talk to my son or daughter, they make these decisions. Well, the next question is, they make the decisions on your health insurance. What do they have for health insurance? And most of them are going to say, well, they don't have health insurance, but we're going to check with them. You can say all of that.
Off.
Yeah, you can say all of that in a very nice way. I get accused of always using the bless your heart, and I don't say it. I feel it. I empathize with clients. And what I'll tell all of you to do is, don't be afraid to get some shock value. Sometimes you've got to shock that client into being into the conversation.
That's good.
Because I always tell my clients, I would rather shock you now and you be prepared than you be getting shocked going into an ambulance and you've got no health insurance and you're going to be that bankruptcy statistic. So let me protect you from that. Spend the money taking care of your family, because I can tell you, the last conversation with my dad was, I just wish the death would come sooner because I have life insurance. No child should have to worry about their parent being taken care of.
Yeah.
Ever. That's what gives me confidence. That's what gives me passion. That's what gives me the love of what I love to do. Those of you who've heard me speak, yes, I wanted to be Miss America. It wasn't in the cards, but I can't think of a more rewarding job than what we get to do every day. And I'm thankful my dad wanted me to be in the insurance industry. He wasn't blessed to be in this side of the insurance industry, but I know he's proud of what we do every day because he was the best public servant. And I think all of you are too. You just don't really know what you can do because you're not doing it. Pick up the pitch kit, read it. You pass the insurance exam. You obviously know how to read and study. Use us for teaching you how to get the sale. I teach pivot, position, and transition. And that's the only way to get a bundle. You've got to pivot why it matters. You've got to position it in the places where they have the biggest gaps. And then you've got to transition that into trust, which is what gets you the check. And when you do the pivot, the position, transition each and every time, that's your 3 no's. And I promise you, if you're good, you're going to get a whole lot more yeses than you're going to get on to the next. Make every lead count. Make every client matter. And when you do that and you feel that, you will be successful. You'll probably be teaching us what to do because we all learn from each other. What's so great about these Facebook groups is the ability to share and care. And somebody told me the other day, they go, Galen, I'm going to use a rhyme for you. When you share and care, you get the fair. And I'm like, hey, that's a good one. I'm going to start using that too.
I like it.
And I've noticed that agents have started having more fun. When you get to this point in your life, you want to enjoy what you do. Work's not spelled F-U-N, but you can have F-U-N at work.
Good.
And so I appreciate y'all taking the time with us today, and we want to answer your questions if you have some.
Yeah, I'll leave it open for a couple minutes if anybody has questions, but I do want to share with you personally because this is cool. Joe V says, now I know what to tell my clients or how to approach them. You gave me so much confidence.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome.
That's really cool. Delphine asked if it's going to be recorded. It will, of course, be recorded. All of that's good. Drew's question was, would you say asking for a cash price is better than a network discount?
Absolutely. And here's another heads up. There's a lot of places out on Google, hey, the one good thing about being on this side of 50 is I got to do it the old school stupid way. And now we have all this technology. Google's your friend. I hear that 100 times a day from all the young people in my organization. One of the things that I will say is that you can find out what the network discounts are. Most of them are published. You got to look for them. You can also call and ask, what is the network pricing? But I almost always ask for both, and they'll give it to you. It's hard because they don't want to give you that cash price. They want to keep their network providers happy, so they want to try to do business with them as much as they can. but you're in business too. And what makes you valuable to your client is doing some research for them or advising them in the selling process that you can get these answers. You just need to work for it. And time is money. And with us dealing with small business owners, they appreciate that we give them those tips.
The value that you're getting here, though, is from years of experience dealing, like navigating the healthcare system. And one thing that I can definitely say, as far as a good takeaway for anybody watching this, even myself, it's just to be more familiar with we play a part in the healthcare system, right? And so to understand the entire system is going to give somebody an extreme advantage. Everything, I just learned something myself. I didn't know network discounts were published. I didn't know you could find that information out. I'm not going to spend too much time, but I'm definitely going to find it. And in my experience too, I've found that cash prices are always better. I have a question, and then if anybody has any questions, we'll take them. This is for me personally. Can you? And this is just like as we're talking about it, you mentioned with a fixed benefit plan, it's a cash benefit plan. So legal, like the insurance or the provider's not committing any fraud or anything if they give the cash price. Would it be fraud if somebody has an ACA plan and the provider knows it? They say, yes, I have insurance, and they say, okay, it's going to be $1,000. Whoa, no, can you give me what's the cash price? Would it then be fraud?
That's a great question. So anytime you've got an ACA plan, file that sucker. I mean, go straight to the administrative office and give that to them. Because what you want to do is keep all of your ancillary or portfolio or bundle packages. You want to keep those as cash because that's what they are. And if a client files their ACA plan, and let's say they don't have the $8,150 to pay up front, well, they are going to be getting some cash where they can negotiate that $8,150. The interesting thing about this is that $8,150, even though that's not a cash price, that's their out of pocket. And hospitals have to clear their books. So they're either going to create an offer for you because they don't want to give that to a collection provider because they're going to lose money. Mm-hmm. The minute they hand that over to a collection organization, they know they're paying 50% of that.
And we're talking just the 8,000.
Yeah,
right?
The 8,000.
Just their portion.
So I'm talking bronze right now, and I'm talking in network because that's typically what a lot of people are seeing the zero subsidies on. And so when they go in and they say, hey, you owe $8,150, or they may have some co-insurance there, depending on, I guess, labs or whatever may come up. But that's when the hospital gets to negotiate. They can't negotiate cash on the upfront because you've provided an ACA plan or a true group plan, true health insurance, if you will. And what ends up happening is now they're sitting here and they're going, okay, now this client owes us $10,000. I loved my grandson's pediatrician. He goes, Galen, the worst thing that happened to medical providers than free health insurance, the no health insurance, was the free insurance, because none of these people knew they were going to have these large out of pockets.
Yeah.
They thought they were going to go give us their card. And he said, I was having to employ collectors basically to chase after these things. So when your client, and educate them on this, I've got you a cancer plan. I've got you a heart attack and stroke plan. So don't assign those because those are going to come to you in cash. And that's the way you're going to pay your mortgage. That's the way you're going to pay your car insurance. That's the way you're going to pay your car payments. And then when that hospital calls you, and this happened to my family, my dad was care flighted. He didn't even have a heartbeat. They said he had a little bit of one, so they had to call care flight. At that time, it was $12,000 for my mom. She had a $100,000 life insurance policy on my dad. She paid that $12,000. What I know now, she could have negotiated that down to nothing. But they scare these people who have always done the right thing. But what I would do is say, hey, look, when they call you about that $8,150, remember, you've got to take care of your family first. You got to feed them. You got to provide for them. And then if you have any left, then you can pay the $8,150. But those hospitals will negotiate with you. And if they do end up sending it to collections, just make a minimum payment. It'll go on your credit bureau that you're making a payment on an outstanding debt, but you're making the payment, and that helps your credit score. So a lot of this is education. The more you research, the more you can help. But if that same client had been sold an ACA along with affordable choice, don't file the affordable
Right.
choice. Just file the ACA plan or just file the short term medical and take all the cash in and then determine what you've got to pay.
That's awesome. And Delphine asks, what would the just a real quick, what would be the bundle you sell when not selling an ACA plan? I'll try to I'll try to give the cliff notes. It was like if it's not an ACA plan, a short-term medical along with a Manhattan affordable choice or another subpar fixed benefit plan maybe,
I love the
which
word
is
subpar.
which is a great when I'm training a short-term medical along with a fixed benefit or Manhattan Life's affordable choice. That's what I call as close to bulletproof as you can get, right? I would never on the phone with a client say, this is bulletproof, that you're just setting yourself up for failure. But if you say, hey, this is as close to bulletproof as we can get based on, hey, the fact that you're perfectly healthy or whatever, that is a great scenario. So short-term medical, cancer number one, affordable choice if the budget allows it. Accident, of course, is important, but not the most important. And then an out-of-pocket protection
And heart
plan.
attack and stroke.
And yeah,
You
and heart
know,
attack and
one of
stroke.
the questions you can ask clients is, what's in your family's heredity? Is it more cancer? Is it more heart attack and stroke? The reason I ask that of my clients is because I want them to think about that person they knew and what disability they went through. And I always share with everybody, my dad was the first in his family to get cancer. And he was given 6 weeks to 3 years. He lived 5 weeks and 5 days because financial devastation killed him. And I know that as well as I know my name is Galen.
Right.
And the other thing I'll tell you guys, and that was really good too. He said something that was really important there is that, when you're building these plans, always be truthful in where the bullet holes are, because that's what's establishing the bundle for you. And you're showing these clients how you're diversifying their dollars. That's why high deductible plans are always good, because you can put them on a really high deductible and save them so much money and build in plans that they're actually going to use.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than a client going, hey, Brad, I used my dental, vision, and hearing plan this month, because I used to do an exercise with agents. I would draw out, and this is in the olden days. I'd say, look, you're paying $800 a month for Blue Cross Blue Shield. You've got a $10,000 deductible. You're paying $19,000 if you go into the hospital for a $1,000 procedure, because that $1,000 is not going to be covered on that $10,000 deductible.
Right.
And they're like, what? I go, well, it's not really 19,000, but you got a $10,000 deductible. So you got nothing paid. You could have taken this alternative over here, paid $250 a month, and you would have been saving $9,000
Right.
a year, and your $1,000 procedure would have been paid for.
Right.
So with ACA, it's a little different because there's a lot of freebies now. There wasn't freebies then. So you've got to know what your competition is. Comparison is the thief of joy. Don't compare yourself to Brad or Galen. That's a thief. But know your competition. Compare your plans, because your client needs to know you've done that research for them.
Yeah. And Betty, you said, which companies do I use in Florida for hospital indemnity, DVH, and short-term medical?
Family
Probably
Life, which is the affordable choice here.
Yeah, pretty much the main one with hospital indemnity is going to be an affordable choice, of course. DVH is Manhattan Life as well. They have a great
Fantastic.
DVH. And short-term medical is usually NatGen or United Health is the two go-tos. But with that,
Be ready for January. I have a new short-term medical exclusive that I'll tell you guys about.
Hey, I can't wait to have lunch and learn about that. We're going to wrap that up. We've been going for an hour and 10 minutes. So that was super helpful. And if you're still tuning in, or if you're still here, know that I want to do this at least 2 times a week during not during open enrollment. During open enrollment, you better be selling. But during the month of October, to get you guys ready for open enrollment. My first open enrollment was life-changing, right? Literally life-changing moment,
like
where I made $30,000 in the month of December for the first time, like my first open enrollment ever. And that was a a large amount of money to me and changed my life and removed a lot of the limiting beliefs that I had. So I'm still in the industry doing what I'm doing today because of that first open
And
enrollment.
write your products on yourself.
Yes.
When you have a cancer plan and you can tell your clients you have a cancer plan, huge. When you have your dental, vision, and hearing, huge. You know, when you're I love this example. When you're in the Medicare market, you can't always write yourself a Med Sup or Med Advantage because you're not 65 yet.
Yeah.
I still have 7 years before I get to do that. But you can take all those other ancillary plans and share that with your client. That's the best selling sauce ever.
Yeah, when you get to share your experience
and you get paid.
with it. Exactly. Well, that's it, guys. We're going to wrap it up. Thank you so much, all of you that tuned in, and look out for more of this in the coming month, I guess, before open enrollment.